We have 4-0 Michigan, currently ranked 14th according to the AP Top 25 poll, going on the road to face 1-2 Wisconsin. Wisconsin is a 2-point favorite in this game. This game is going to be played on Fox, 12 p.m. Eastern Time kickoff. Now, this game is going to reveal just how good this Michigan football team is, because they barely were able to beat Rutgers. And I was kind of trying to tell people last week that Rutgers game could be, a upset game. That was a game that I was very confident that Rutgers, even though I didn't pick them to win, I still felt like they were going to be able to keep that game close, and they did, really closer than what I expected. I thought that Rutgers was going to lose by 10 points, but I didn't expect them to lose by a field goal, and Michigan barely survived. Rutgers outgained Michigan in total yards, rushing yards 196 to 112, first downs, but I really felt like that fumble they had kind of is what tilted the game in Michigan's favor. Now, Michigan, I am wondering, are they going to be able to throw the football against Wisconsin's defense? And the reason why I asked that question is because I know Wolverine fans right now are going to say, JT, right now we currently have the best rushing attack in America, which is true. But you're looking at a red-hot Wisconsin defense that had allowed only 3 rushing yards to Notre Dame last week. Let me repeat that. Wisconsin only gave up 3 rushing yards against Notre Dame last week. Now, I understand that Michigan probably has a better offensive line than Notre Dame, because Notre Dame lost a lot of guys to the NFL last year during the draft, and they're still trying to, figure out how to best maximize what they have on the offensive line, and Notre Dame's offensive line has struggled pretty much for the whole entire season. But to allow only 3 rushing yards, that's something that has to definitely have Michigan fans kind of, a little bit worried, because we haven't really seen K. McNamara have to do a lot. All he really has to do is manage the game. He hasn't really been put in a spot where he has to really carry the load offensively for Michigan. So I always want to know, what will a team do when their strength is taken away? Because you're only good as your weakest link. That's what they say. So for Michigan, how good is this passing game? Because you always have to prepare for the worst. And if the worst happens for Michigan and you have to beat Wisconsin throwing the football, can you do it? Like I said, McNamara hasn't really been asked to do that much. He hasn't really been put in a situation where he's been forced to have to win the game. So if Wisconsin's defense ends up being really good this week against the Michigan run game, then I want to see how effective this passing attack for Michigan is going to be. Because you look at that Wisconsin front seven, there are a lot of talented guys. They have a really good defensive line. They have really good linebackers, and they're really good at creating pressure on the quarterback. I believe they had 6 sacks last week against Notre Dame. Now, you are facing a better offensive line, but at the same time, that's still a really good defense. And Wisconsin has been really good when it comes to stopping the run this year. Now, Wisconsin's offense has looked terrible. And I don't really like to single out players, because that's not really how I like to build this channel on. But, Graham Mertz, man, he has to play better. You got to remember, he was supposed to be the guy who dethroned Jack Cohen. He was supposed to be better than Jack Cohen. He was supposed to be the best quarterback that Wisconsin has had since Russell Wilson. And so far this season, he hasn't really been able to get into rhythm. He was 18 of 41 against Notre Dame last week, 240 passing yards, 1 touchdown. He threw 4 interceptions. It hasn't really been a great outing so far for Graham Mertz this season. And I know he doesn't really have the greatest talent at wide receiver and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, he was overthrowing guys who were wide open. He wasn't seeing wide open guys. Can Graham Mertz get into a rhythm in this game? Because it's not like he's playing behind a terrible offensive line. It's not like he doesn't have weapons. He doesn't have a star-studded group of wide receivers, but he does have a pretty solid group of receivers to throw the football to. So really, I really feel like what's holding back Wisconsin's offense is Graham Mertz. And Wisconsin's defense is talented enough that, they can overcome 2 turnovers. But 4 turnovers, that's not really the ideal situation that you want your defense in. And when you're playing a team like Michigan that's going to pound the ball down your throats, you're not going to get a lot of possessions. You're not going to also have a lot of opportunities to score. So if you're Wisconsin and you run a similar style offense as Michigan, smash mouth, ball control, chew time off the clock, you can't end up having the ball for 8 minutes out of 15 and then come up empty. That's not winning football. That's not what Wisconsin is. Wisconsin has always been known for being a well-coached, disciplined team that doesn't beat themselves. And right now, Wisconsin looks like the complete opposite of that. Wisconsin looks like a team that's beating themselves, and I think a large reason for that is Graham Mertz. Now, also, the wide receivers have kind of struggled to create separation. They don't really have a dynamic number one option there. So when you look at Wisconsin, I'm not saying that this is all on Graham Mertz, but I do believe that he is the root of the problem for this Wisconsin offense. And you look at this Michigan defense, Michigan's defense is better than Notre Dame's defense in my opinion, okay? Notre Dame's defense has came on over the last couple of weeks, but this Michigan defense has been playing some really outstanding football ever since week 1. So when I look at the Michigan defense, they have a really good defensive line that's really good at creating pressure, getting pressure on the quarterback. So I'm looking at this offensive line for Wisconsin. How are they going to be able to hold up? Because Wisconsin's offense does have some experience. There's a lot of talent here, but these are 2 physical games. These are 2 physical teams that play physical styles of football. They want to run the football until you prove you can stop it. So what's going to be really important is, what are Michigan and Wisconsin going to do if they get put into 3rd and long situations and they have to throw the football? Are they going to be able to have success, or are they going to come up short? I want to see just how effective of the passing game is for Wisconsin and Michigan. And if you're Wisconsin, if Graham Mertz continues to struggle, if you're the head coach of Wisconsin, you have to wonder, at some point, if Graham Mertz doesn't improve, do you take him out? That's also a very interesting element that you have to take into account. And when you look at Michigan, if the run game can't get going and they have to lean on the passing game, how reliable is it going to be against a really snobby and snaggy Wisconsin defense? I'm creating words, but this is a really good defense. These are 2 physical football teams. We're going to see a pretty low-scoring affair. We're probably not going to see a lot of offense. Both of these 2 teams are going to try to get the run game going. Don't be surprised if you end up seeing this game going into halftime with a score of, 3-7 or 10-7. There's not going to be a lot of points played and being put up in this game, and this game probably is going to be all that pretty. But the team that wins this game is most likely going to end up finishing on the winning side of the turnover margin. I also think the team that's able to have the more successful day through the air is going to win, whichever quarterback plays better. And on top of that, whichever team is able to have the most success on 3rd down is going to be who I think will end up winning this game. I'm going to take Michigan, and the reason why I'm going to take Michigan to win this game is simply for the fact that, Graham Mertz hasn't played well. He's been turning the football over. The wide receivers haven't really been all that great at creating separation, and I don't really think this Michigan defense is going to allow Wisconsin to dictate this game running the football. If you're the defensive coordinator for the Wolverines, what I would do is I pretty much would stack the box and force Wisconsin to have to beat me throwing the football with Graham Mertz. Make Graham Mertz show me that he has what it takes to be the starting QB for Wisconsin. And if you're a Michigan fan and Wisconsin doesn't have success running the football, you feel pretty doggone good about your chances. Now, one thing about Wisconsin is that their defense is going to keep them in this game until they get to a point where they're just gassed and Wisconsin just keeps going 3-and-out. They can't get anything going on offense, because that's what we saw happen last week when Wisconsin played Notre Dame. Wisconsin had the game going in to the 4th quarter very close, and then Notre Dame ended up breaking away, and this was without Jack Cohen. The defense just got tired. The offense wasn't doing anything, and they had too many turnovers. So I'm going to take Michigan to win this game. I think Michigan wins 20-10 is my final score prediction in this game.